guess it's my turn. I would like to thank Dr. Abrahamian and Mr. Tutunjian for their excellent job that they have done in selecting a topic which is very, very challenging, and it really is a kindling to a future fire that is going to take this nation from top to bottom. I also like to thank my co-panelists who presented the sad story of the Armenian genocide and all that. However, I have to divert from that way of thinking and come up with something else. Don't forget that I was born in Kirkuk, which a lot of people consider part of Kurdistan, and I have, of course, lived and worked in Kurdistan, so I have acquired some habits in conveying ideas to my people, to my friends, even to my parents and family. And that's by telling stories. That's how I learned. That's how they used to shape our character, by telling stories about this, that, the other thing, and tell us what's right, what's wrong through stories. So I'm going to tell you a story, or several stories as a matter of fact. Two psychiatrists decide to study a pessimist and an optimist. They bring the pessimist and put him in a room full of toys and lock the door, and put the optimist in a room full of horse manure and close the door. An hour later, they open the doors. The pessimist is sitting there and crying. They say, "Why are you crying?" He says, "How about if I break these things, toys, and my father will be angry and all that?" And they go to the optimist's room. They see he is messing up with the thing. They say, "What are you doing?" He says, "With this much of horse manure, there must be a horse somewhere." So that's what I have been doing, trying to find a horse in this manure that is plaguing both nations, the Kurdish and the Armenian nations. So that's number one story. Number two story is my favorite story is the story of a lice, bochil, beet. Why? Because it conveys typhus and does all kinds of stuff. So this guy is doing sitting examination for biology and all that, and he has learned an awful lot about the lice because it's an interesting animal. So the first examiner, sitting like us, says, "All right, tell us about the cow." Well, the cow gives us milk, gives us meat, etc., and it has hair. And in the hair, lice exist. So he says, no. The second one says, "Talk to me about vochar, about sheep." He says the same story about the thing, and the sheep has fur, and in that fur there is lice. The third guy starts talking about it, says, "Okay." The third one says, "Talk to me about fish." The fish is a source of protein. It swims in waters and all that, but unfortunately it does not have any fur. If it had fur, it would have, there would have been bochil. There would have been life. So in my deliberations of this political issue, that is my favorite story. No matter where you go, no matter what you say, no matter how elaborate you are, my lice is the Armenian cause and Western Armenia, and that's what I keep on talking about. And that's what I'll be talking about. All right. We've talked an awful lot about the genocide, so I'm not going to touch that stuff at all. The third story is a true story. One night, like 20 years ago, Annie Astarjian, Miss Republican of Massachusetts, calls me. He says, "Henry, I hear your mother was a Kurd." I said, if she was a Kurd, she would have made the Guinness Book of Records. Because, to the best of my knowledge, Kurds married Armenian girls. They kidnapped them. They married them. They forced them into marriage. So we are their khalos. We are their uncles. So this, I said this in Washington in BDP meeting, Barish Democratic Party, which we helped set in Washington. We showed them the robes over there. I told them about the khalo story. When the meeting was over, at least 24 people came and shook my hand and kissed my cheeks and said, "Khalo, khalo, khalo," because their mothers and grandmothers were Armenians. Now, I brought this story with the president of the Kurdish parliament in exile in Brussels. By the way, that was in 1996, and it was the parliament's first manifesto recognizing the Armenian genocide, and our newspapers backhandedly supported it. Asparez of Los Angeles just mentioned it, and that was it. All right. So the president of the parliament, Yashar Kaya, and Zubair Aydar, the so-called the president, the minister, prime minister of the parliament. I told, when I went there for the first time, they were totally surprised. But anyway, they took me out to dinner. And they started about the genocide issue. I said, stop. I don't want to talk about the genocide issue. I want to talk about Western Armenia and our rights. I don't care about the genocide issue. They have kept us busy for 99 years talking about the genocide, diverting our energies, our thoughts, our directions, our political action towards the dead. Yeah, there was a crime. Enough is enough. Where do we go from here? Now, I'm ahead of myself a little bit. Yashar Kaya said, you people are wrong. You always accuse us for stealing your children. The little kids, stealing them and so on and so forth. It's true, we stole them. We told them they are Armenians until the end, even though they converted to Islam. But we did it. Why don't you be kind to look at it from the other side of it? That we saved these children from their zor, from a certain death. We saved the Armenian nation the best we can. From one side they killed, from the other side they stole these kids and girls. Therefore, they saved human souls. So it's a hard thing to argue about or against, I should say. It's true. There were people who saved Armenian children, and so we have got to capitalize on this kind of a thing if we want to negotiate and talk with the Kurds. Now, in order to negotiate and have some kind of a reconciliation, we've got to do a couple of things. One, we've got to keep our house in order, or we've got to organize. Armenians are totally disorganized, and the Kurds are too. I'll come to that. So don't feel that it's us only. Armenians are 100 pieces. If the Turks are stupid in this way, if they recognize the genocide, there will be no diaspora force. Everybody will be, this is a Protestant, that's a Catholic, that's this, that's that. It is the issue of genocide which is keeping the diaspora together. Imagine April 24th in Los Angeles, Istanbul High, Bolsa High, people putting the Tashnak Party, Hinchak Party, Ramgawar Party, Parekor Zagan, you name it, all the churches together under the auspices of the Istanbuli High in order to celebrate the genocide. And you go to the genocide, it's the same political, not the political, beating the chest, it's the genocide. Why the Turks killed us? That's not enough. Do something, get off, or shut up, don't do anything. You have got to understand. First, we have to educate our people about our rights, about what our issues are, more than... I always bring this as an example. Some of you may have seen or imagined the rabbit and the hounds. There is a plastic rabbit on an arm. It keeps running round, and the hounds keep on chasing them. They will never get it. So for us, this genocide issue, recognition of our genocide is just like that. We keep on running after it. 30 countries so far have recognized the genocide. I say, so what? Let America today recognize the genocide. So what? Let the United Nations recognize it. So what? It's a human issue. It's a human rights issue, not a political issue. It diverts us from our goal, which is Western Armenia. So, organizing and brainwashing, if you want, or educating, rather, our Armenian diaspora and to tell them about Western Armenia. Otherwise, I'll tell you what's going to happen. This is cynical. It comes with my age or with age. You're going to have free and sovereign Republic of Karabakh, free and sovereign Republic of Eastern Armenia, free and sovereign Republic of Western Armenia, then principalities of Paris, Principality of Beirut, Principality of Los Angeles, Principality of, I don't know, maybe even Istanbul, and then you come to the Belediye stuff. This is Glendale, Belediye of Glendale, this is Belediye of, I don't know, this and that. This is how it's going to be. Everybody, wherever you go, wherever there are, they have built churches and schools and hallways. And so, are you willing to adopt and work and fight for Western Armenia, or shut up and do nothing? Do your own work in your own, wherever you are. We're comfortable. We're comfortable wherever we are, except for the Middle East countries where Kesabs and Aleppos and things like that. We're comfortable. It's very hard for us to decide that we should go back to Western Armenia. But who says we're not talking about us or even the next generation? 50 years in a nation's age is nothing. It's like 2 days. It's not like human beings, like every 50 years is 50 years. So, to organize, before we talk to the Kurds about reconciliation, before the love fest with the Kurds, we have to educate ourselves and come up with some kind of a decision other than the genocide. Now, we come to Kurds. The Kurds are 1,000 pieces. They are still, up to this minute that I know about, They are divided into faction after faction after faction. You have Barzani in Iraq. You have the Party Union, the Talabani in and then you have Saleh Muslim in Rajava, and then you have I don't know Apo in Imral. You have the Dersimli who does not accept to be a Zaza. You have the Zaza, which is Alevi one part and Sunni is another part. You have the Merd tribes. You have all kinds, the Kurmanji, not Kurmanji, you know what I mean. Yeah. All these things, they don't agree. I saw them in the parliament. There were 67 members of the parliament. 7 of them, or 6 of them, were PKK. The rest were from all over, including, I think it was Sheikh Ali, an Alevi Sheikh, one of. But anyway, all the tribes were there. They did not get together. They cannot get together in order to have one demand. As a matter of fact, a faction I know deceived Abdullah Öcalan, and they arrested him. And it was their job because they were opposing to Abdullah Öcalan. So they are not, unified. When you say a Kurd, we are not talking about Dr. Güven only. We are talking about the Ashiret after Ashiret. Now, this was the very cause of failure of the Sevres Treaty, which is my second point. My first point, I'm sorry, I missed the conclusion of that one. My first point is that the Kurds have to help recognize all the Armenians who have become Muslims. All our sisters who married these Kurds and whose wives they are, to say, all right, to give them the freedom of saying this person has an Armenian blood in him, to identify all these Armenian women. So that is, whatever it is, by going door to door or some kind of a mechanism to recognize our sisters who are the wives and the grandmothers of today's Kurdish people. So that's number one. There are 700,000 Armenians who have converted to quote-unquote Turk. We have got to do something in order to help them. They have to regain their ethnicity, same way as the Kurds are trying to. They did not get the Sevres Treaty because there was a condition in the Sevres Treaty. I'll come to that in detail. I'm again slightly ahead of myself. Now, what happened to the Kurds after the genocide? They formed the Hamidiyya Alayları. They massacred the Armenians. After that, Kemal Atatürk came. Kemal Atatürk cut them. 700 mullahs from Dersimli mullahs, he slaughtered them. And I don't know, thousands of people slaughtered them. He not only told the Kurds, you are not Kurds, you are mountain Turks. He took the kids, Kurdish kids, and he sent them to different city, different village, gave them different name, and they lost their identity, Kurdish identity. So now, an age-old, centuries-old politics is at action right now. It has been through and through and through. It's an Ottoman thing. It says, ya vur kurtul, ya ver kurtul. Either hit and get rid of the problem, or pay them and get off the problem. Now, in this Kurdish thing that started in 1984 with PKK and Abdullah Öcalan, They kept on Vurmush, hitting the Kurds as much as they could. They had the village guards, Korucu. They did to them what the Kurds had done to the Armenians or worse. They brought their girls, stripped them off, gathered village people, and had that girl raped over there. And when an elderly man tried to protect her, they just shot him dead. They killed him. So the thing, until now, the succeeding Turkish governments have looked down upon. Erdogan brought Barzani from Iraq in order to support him for his election, and that's what they did. So Vur Kurtul did not come up with any answer. Abdullah Öcalan with 35,000 people hit them so badly it hurt. 35,000 or 40,000 people died, etc. But the point is that the Turkish government, by employing Vur Kurtul, did not succeed. Now they're being the nice guy, Ver Kurtul. They're telling the Kurdish people, well, you know, we recognize you are Kurds, but you cannot really teach. You cannot have bilingual for teaching. Bilingual like that. You cannot do that. Yeah, we will give you a radio station, but not television station. But it's all right as long as they sing our songs. This is now what is happening in the Kurdistan, which is a vast area with more than 30 million population. This is what's happening vis-a-vis the Turkish government. They are giving the Kurds Ver Kurtul, and they are not succeeding. And they are playing dirty games between the Rojava, which is northeastern Syria, and then the Barzanis in northern Iraq, and the PKK from the other side, and PKK now started getting smart, and hey, Apo cannot do anything, Abdullah Öcalan. He is a captive, he is in prison. He's condemned to death. What can he do? Whatever he says, it's qualified. It means that there is Erdogan behind it. So, in that sense, it doesn't carry through. Now, the last thing, another 3 minutes, and I'll stop yak-yakking. Sevres Treaty. We must adopt the Sevres Treaty again. As I have written quite frequently, Sevres Treaty is alive, but not healthy. In 1920, August 20th, 1920, the Sevres Treaty was signed, a peace to end the war with Turkey, and they mandated Woodrow Wilson to draw a map to give what belongs to God, what belongs to Caesar, what belongs to Kurds, what belongs to Armenians. Woodrow Wilson worked until November 3rd and produced a map called Wilsonian Map, Wilsonian Kardesh. And it delineated, this is Armenia, this is Turkey, this is Kurdistan. And they said, Article 88 to 92 recognized Armenia within the borders of Wilsonian Map. Article 66 to 64 dealt with the Kurdish issue, that conditional issue, that within 1 year, if all the Kurdish tribes get together and write an application, Turkey is obliged to grant them sovereignty or their own land and their own identity. Within the year, the Kurds could not do it. Therefore, Sevres Treaty for them did not work whatsoever. And for us, it didn't work either, because in Lausanne, Ismet İnönü and Lord Curzon got together, and because of Kemal Atatürk's situation and the British interest in the matter, they killed the whole thing. They slept on it. So even though the League of Nations has accepted the Sevres Treaty, there is only one government that had ratified it, and that's Greece. But I have talked to a lot of professors of political science and all that. They have told me that is the right place to start, and it's alive, and it could be. If that is not alive, Treaty of Kars is not alive either. Treaty of Kars with the Russians and the Turks, they gave Kars and Ardahan and this and that from Armenia. They carved it and gave it to Turkey. If what is good for the goose is good for the gander. What is good for Treaty of Kars, if that is alive, Treaty of Sevres is alive too. So the suggestion is to have panels who put things together, political scientists, lawyers, international. They don't have to be Armenians in order to revive that. So in this whole mess, I'm trying to find a horse in the horse manure. So pray for the Armenian nation. And I don't know what else I can say. I've talked quite a bit. You talking to the Kurds. As we organize ourselves to organize our thoughts and our to organize and to bring the issue to our consciousness rather than just chasing the genocide. The Kurds must also understand that that land is not only theirs. That they cannot have a map which goes all the way from Kelbajar to Lachin, all the way down to Kars, Van, Ardahan, Mush, Bitlis, Diyarbakir, question of all the way down to Mosul, Erbil, Kirkuk, Suleimani as one Kurdistan, and Kamishli, of course, as one. They should understand that this is not their right. It's not their country. We have no problem, Armenians, officially and belief-wise, believing. We have no problem in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran. We have no claim whatsoever. Our claim is in what was known as Anatolia, which is inhabited now by the Kurds, almost only, who are divided into a million different fractions, and they got there by slaughtering us. And so Kurds must understand this. For us, these two things should be central: to have reconciliation with the Kurdish nation. One is the Sevres Treaty. Two is finding and allowing our girls, our people, to identify themselves. That's all. Two items. After that, there is love fest. That's fine. I mean, they go and dance and sing and eat together and shake hands and kiss each other, and all kinds of stuff are important, and it's that is, but not as important as what I said. 2 points: Sevres Treaty for Western Armenia and census of the Armenians. I rest my case.